Hello aspirants, this is Civils Mentorship. Let's make UPSC simple and achievable together. And the reason we need to simplify it is clear. Every year, more than 10 lakh aspirants register for the UPSC Civil Services examination. Out of this, only 4 to 5 lakh actually appeared for the first stage, which we commonly called as Prelims. और फिर उसके बाद barely 10 to 12,000 qualify for mains. After mains, the number comes down even further. Only about 2,500 make it to the interview stage or the personality test. And finally, after 1 year of sweat, hard work and patience, सिर्फ 900 to 1,000 aspirants find their names in the final merit list. Now think about it for a moment. Initially, how many aspirants have applied for the exam? 10 lakh aspirants. But only 1,000 aspirants' names were there in the final selection list. That means it's less than 0.2% success rate. अब ये सुन के शायद आपको लगे कि यूपीएससी एक इम्पॉसिबल एग्जाम है. शायद आपके माइंड में ये डाउट भी आता होगा, क्या मैं कर पाऊंगा? क्या मैं इतने कंपटीशन में टिक पाऊंगा? So my dear aspirants, let me tell you something clearly. Those 1,000 people who finally make it, they are not superhumans. They don't have any extra brains. They don't have some magical memory. They are normal people just like us. The only difference is they had a clarity of strategy, consistency and patience. सोच लो, अगर सिर्फ आईआईटी, आईआईएम या एलिट बैकग्राउंड के बच्चे क्लियर करते तो हर साल फाइनल लिस्ट उन्हीं से भरे होते. बट द रियलिटी इज वेरी डिफरेंट. एवरी ईयर टॉपर्स कम फ्रॉम स्मॉल टाउन्स, हिंदी मीडियम बैकग्राउंड्स, स्टेट यूनिवर्सिटीज, even people who studied while working. UPSC doesn't care about your college brand or your English fluency. It only cares about clarity of thought, depth of preparation, and maturity of perspective. That's why today's session is all about decoding the UPSC examination. It's all about decoding the UPSC examination, and that is why decoding the UPSC exam is so important. Because once you decode UPSC, your preparation becomes not just easier but also smarter. So, my younger brothers and sisters, I welcome you all to Civils Mentorship, where we simplify this entire journey step by step. In this session, we will not just talk about UPSC, we will break it down into simple, clear parts. We will talk about the exam structure, we will see the syllabus, we will see which subject is more important than the other, we will also go through what is the role of the current affairs, and we will decode some common myths versus reality. And most importantly, we will see that what the toppers follow. What is the success formula that toppers follow? So stay with me till the end, because you being an aspirant, once you understand this exam, your journey will become more focused, more strategic, and more achievable. So let's begin. So before we start, let me quickly show you the roadmap of what we will discuss today. So what are the things that we will be going to discuss today? First of all, we will go through the introduction to the UPSC Civil Services exam. So we will see exactly what this exam is all about and why it is considered one of the toughest exam in India. Next, we will go through the exam structure. The 3 stages that we are having: prelims, mains and personality test. Next, we will go through the syllabus, because understanding the syllabus is very much important. The syllabus will act as the guiding light for every aspirant like us. Next, we will go through the most important thing: subject-wise importance and weightage. Now, which subjects matter more and how to prioritize them. And finally, we will see the nature of UPSC questions, that what type of questions UPSC is asking about, whether it is entirely static based, whether it is dynamic based, or there is some overlapping between static and dynamic. And next, what are the things that we will see? As already mentioned, we will go through the entire question papers, and we will see that what is the role of current affairs. And not only that, we will also go through that what exactly UPSC looks for from us. So, and finally, we will bust some myths and realities. And finally, we will be going through what the toppers exactly follow. Like you can call it as the success formula. And the most important thing is that we will conclude this entire session by looking the UPSC as an entire journey. So as we all know that UPSC is not about a particular job, it's an entire journey. So let's begin step by step. So first of all, we will see that what this exam is all about. So the UPSC, as we all know that it is conducted by the Union Public Service Commission, commonly known as what? UPSC. So the UPSC conducts this civil service examination along with other examinations also every year. So what is the goal behind taking this exam? To recruit officers for India's most prestigious services, the IAS, IPS, IFS, IRS, and many more. So this is exactly why people call it the mother of all exams. Because why? Now the syllabus is vast, the process is long, and the outcome will be life-changing for all of us. So next, since we are aware of that what exactly is UPSC exam, the most important thing is that why it is so much important. Because these services are not just jobs like other jobs. These are positions of responsibility and power. Now imagine you to be an IAS officer. So as an IAS officer, you are at the center of governance and policy making. As an IPS officer, you safeguard law and order. Now as an IFS officer, you represent India on the world stage. As an IRS officer, you manage taxation and revenue, ensuring the economy runs smoothly. So in short, UPSC gives you the chance to be at the heart of India's governance and development. That's why aspirants from every corner of India dream of cracking this exam. And that is the exact reason why UPSC is called as the steel frame of India. So hope you understood that why this particular exam is so much important. Now let's come to another topic. Like it's a very common doubt most of the freshers might be having, that who exactly can appear for this exam. The eligibility rules are quite simple. First of all, you need to be a Indian national. Okay. Secondly, you need to be a graduate from a recognized university. Now, doesn't matter if you have qualified or if you have completed your graduation in Bachelor of Arts, in Bachelor of Science or BTech or BCom, any degree works. Now, minimum age is 21 years and maximum age is 32 years for general category people, with relaxation for OBC 35 years and SC/ST 37 years. Now, how many attempts an aspirant can give? Now, for a general category aspirant, they will be getting 6 attempts or 32 years, whichever is applicable. Now, OBC aspirant gets 9 attempts and SC/ST have no attempt limit within the age. So, इसमें कोई rocket science नहीं है. If you are a graduate above 21, you can attempt UPSC. So, hope the doubt regarding the appearance or regarding who can appear for the exam is cleared now. Now the most important thing, that why do people say that UPSC is the toughest exam? Now first of all, why they are saying that it's the toughest exam? First of all, duration. Now UPSC is not a one-day exam like other exams. It's a marathon that lasts for 1 full year. Now mostly we will be having our prelims exam in May or June, mains exam in August or September, and interview or personality test in March, April. And again our final result will come in May. So by the time you get your result, an entire year has passed. Now the most important thing, the syllabus. It's a vast syllabus. We will be covering history, polity, economy, geography, science, environment, ethics, and of course current affairs. And then we have our optionals as well. अभी मजाक मजाक में तो ये भी बोला जाता है कि यूपीएससी सिलेबस इज इक्वल टू एवरीथिंग अंडर द सन, बट ऐसा नहीं है. नाउ दैट वी विल सी एज वी प्रोसीड इन डिकोडिंग द यूपीएससी एग्जाम. नेक्स्ट कम्स द थर्ड रीजन इज कंपटीशन. With lakhs of aspirants and only 1,000 final selections, the competition is brutal. The success rate, if you see, the success rate is only less than 0.2%. But remember one thing, UPSC exam is tough, but it does not mean that it is impossible. It just means you need clarity, consistency, and patience. Now let's also bust some myths right here. Now, one of the myth is that only IIT, IIM or elite college students can clear UPSC. But the reality is that every year toppers come from ordinary colleges, small towns and humble backgrounds. Myth number 2 is that you must study if you have, maybe you are thinking that you must need to study for 16 to 18 hours on a daily basis. But that is not the case. Even if you are studying for 6 to 8 hours entire year, with focus and consistency, that is more than enough. Now before the exam you can stretch a bit, but you cannot do you cannot study for 10 to 12 hours on a daily basis throughout the year. Now remember one thing, that quality is greater than quantity. Third myth is that it's all about luck. I understand that luck will play certain role, but it's not that entirely it is based on luck. Now PYQs, if you go through the PYQs, it will show certain clear patterns. Now luck plays a role, but strategy and preparation matter for more. So my dear aspirants, UPSC is tough, yes, but achievable with the right mindset. Now that we have understood what UPSC is, let's move on to the next part, the exam structure. So what is the exactly exam structure it is? So as we all know that UPSC Civil Services exam has 3 stages spread across 1 year. Let's decode them one by one. First of all, we will be getting the, what is the first stage? Now first stage is we will be getting the prelims examination. Now preliminary exam, also commonly called as a prelims. Now this is the first gate. Nature of the paper will be objective type and multiple choice questions. Now this prelims exam has 2 papers. First is general studies paper 1, where we are dealing with subjects like history, polity, economy, geography, environment, science and current affairs, and total marks of the paper will be of 200 marks. Along with that, we will be dealing with general studies paper 2 as well, commonly called as what? Now CSAT paper, where we are covering subjects like reasoning, comprehension, maths, logical ability. Now total marks of the paper over here is also of 200. Now but the difference between paper 1 and paper 2 is that paper 2 is qualifying in nature. You need only 33%. But remember one thing, that if you don't score more than 33% marks in your CSAT paper, your paper 1 will not be checked. Now, as we initially discussed, that prelims is nothing but the gateway to the mains exam. So, from here only we can see that prelims marks are not counted for the final merit. It's just a filtering stage. But here is the challenge, that out of 5 lakh aspirants who appear, only about 10 to 12,000 will clear prelims. So from here only you can get an idea that how much filtration is being done in the prelims stage only. So now moving on to the next stage. What is the next stage? Now next stage is mains. So in mains, what type of papers comes, or what is the exactly pattern of the mains examination? Now this is the real battleground. The nature of the paper will be descriptive, analytical and in-depth. So overall it has 9 papers in total, carrying to a total of 1750 marks. Now out of those 9 papers, those 9 papers will be counted, okay? But apart from that, we will be having paper A and paper B as well, which are qualifying in nature. And then we are having the essay paper, GS paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, paper 4, and finally we will be having 2 optional subjects. Now, unlike prelims, these marks count for your final merit. The answers here test not just knowledge, but clarity of thought, analysis, and presentation. Next stage, the final stage, is interview, or commonly called as the personality test. So this is the final stage, which carries 275 marks in total. Here the board tests your personality, judgment, communication, and maturity. It's not about factual knowledge, it's about how you think, how you handle pressure, and how you express your views. So from here we got an idea that the merit list will be based on two stages, mains and the interview or personality test. So now if you see that this is the merit list. So final merit list will be based on what? Now final merit list will be based on 2 papers, or rather we can say that the 2 out of the 3 stages of the exam, final merit list will be based on the 2 stages. One is the mains marks, which is of 1750, and then the personality test marks, which is of 275. So with this, the total marks will be of coming to 2025 marks. So this is your final merit list. So whatever the merit list that will come at the end of the exam, at the end of all the stages of the exam, whatever marks that you will be getting, that marks will be based on these 2 things, your mains marks and your personality test marks. So from here only we can get an idea that your prelims marks don't count. It's just the gatekeeper. So always remember that prelims is about accuracy and elimination. Mains is about depth and clarity. Interview is about personality and maturity. Now that's the structure of UPSC, simple but demanding. So now this was all about the exam structure. But now let's see that, let's dig deeper into all these stages. So first of all, as we discussed, that first is the preliminary exam. Now preliminary exam, so now that we know the structure, so we will be dealing with the preliminary exam, commonly known as the prelims. Now think of prelims as the entry gate. अगर आप इसको क्रॉस नहीं करते तो आगे का सफर खत्म हो जाता है वहीं पे. But if you clear it, you unlock the real battleground, the mains exam. So now what is prelims? It's an objective type paper. Okay? Questions are multiple choice type, where you pick the correct answer from 4 options. Now it happens once a year, usually in May or June. Now as we discussed previously that the prelims exam will be having 2 papers in total, GS paper 1 and GS paper 2. Now both the papers will be comprising of 200 marks each. Now in GS paper 1, what are the topics that we will be covering? Now we will be covering polity, history, geography, economy, environment, science and tech, and of course current affairs. This paper will decide your cutoff. Say suppose the cutoff, whatever cutoff is there for that particular year, it will be entirely based on this paper. That is your GS paper 1. Next comes GS paper 2, which is commonly called as the CSAT paper. So over here, what are the topics that we will be covering? Now we will be covering reasoning, comprehension, basic maths. So this is all about your GS paper 2, which is again of 200 marks only. But the difference is that it is qualifying paper, that you need to only score 33%, that is 66.67 marks to pass the exam. And both these both the papers, that is paper 1 and paper 2, are of 2 hours each. So there's negative marking, that is +2 for correct, and you will get negative marking for each wrong answer. So now remember this clearly, that prelims is only a screening test. The marks you score here don't count in your final merit list. Its sole purpose is to filter out lakhs of aspirants and allow only 2% to enter mains. Imagine that there were around 5 lakh aspirants who have given prelims, but only 10,000 to 12,000 will be able to qualify for mains exam. So, how should you treat prelims? Now, you should not treat this exam as your final exam, but like a gateway. Now, let's go through the GS paper 1 syllabus. So, as we have discussed that we have two papers, GS paper 1 and GS paper 2. Now, let's go through the paper 1 syllabus first. So, what exactly we have in your paper 1 syllabus? So, this is the paper that decides you whether you are clearing prelims or not. So, now let's see what exactly it includes. First of all, it includes current events of national and international importance. Now, UPSC loves asking about schemes, policies, global events, international summits, and even important personalities in the news. Now, let's take an example that there was a question in Prelims 2019 that in the context of which one of the following are the terms pyrolysis and plasma gasification mentioned. So that is that was a current affairs based question. Next, we are having the history of India and the Indian national movement. So over here, we will be focusing on modern history, which is that is a freedom struggle, 1857 revolt, Gandhian era. Now, ancient and medieval history also, topics from ancient and medieval history also comes, but modern history is the core of this paper. So questions often comes on moderates versus extremists, social reformers, architecture, and Buddhism as well. Next comes Indian and the world geography. So over here we will be dealing with the physical geography of India as well as the world, social geography of India as well as the world, economic geography of India and of the world. So from here also we are having certain map based questions as well. So UPSC often asks about rivers and their tributaries. Now next comes Indian polity and governance. So from here we will be dealing with our Indian constitution, fundamental rights, DPSPs, parliament, judiciary, panchayati raj and amendments. Take an example like which article of the constitution declares Hindi as the official language of the union. So these type of questions will come from this particular topic. Next we are having economic and social development. So over here we will be dealing with the basics of economy like GDP, inflation, deficit. We will be also covering government schemes like PM Kisan, Manrega, sustainable development, poverty, inclusion, demographics. Next we are having environment and ecology. So over here we will be dealing with what? Now biodiversity and climate change, environmental organizations, species in news. For example, a question came in 2017 that the term M stripes is sometimes seen in the news in the context of what? So these are the type of basic questions that comes from this topic. And finally, we are having the general science. So basic science concepts from NCERTs. Now, basically from this topic, applied science in daily life, those related questions often comes. Like questions on biotechnology, space tech, vaccines. So basically GS paper 1 is everything under the sun because they have not mentioned any specific things. Simply they have mentioned, take for example that history of India and Indian national movement. So in history of India we will be having all the things like ancient history, medieval history, modern history, all those things we will be dealing with. Next, in Indian polity and governance they have simply mentioned constitution. So in that case we need to cover the entire constitution. But don't panic. With smart strategy you can tame it. But how? If you go through the previous year question papers, you will get an idea that exactly what type of questions comes from this particular topic. So this was all about your GS paper 1 syllabus. Now let's see the GS paper 2 syllabus, commonly known as the CSAT paper. So in CSAT paper, we are having two things. Now remember one thing that most aspirants ignore this part, CSAT. So what are the topics that we are going to cover in CSAT? Now it checks reasoning, comprehension, logical reasoning, comprehension, basic maths and decision making. So over here 80 questions will be there, comprising of total of 200 marks. Qualifying nature as we discussed previously, so that means you need only 33% marks to qualify. 33% of 200 means somewhere it is 66.67 marks you need to qualify this particular exam. So what are the topics includes over here? Now reading comprehension, logical reasoning, basic numeracy, that is plus 10 level, though they have mentioned it as plus 10 level, but if you go through the previous year question papers, in recent papers only, you will see that it is basically not of plus 10 level, it is more than that. Then we are having the data interpretation and decision making. Now here's the twist. Many aspirants underestimate CSAT, thinking that अरे ये easy है, बस qualifying है. But UPSC has made it tougher in recent years. In fact, every year many candidates fail CSAT despite good performance in their GS paper 1. So मेरा इसमें simple advice है, don't ignore CSAT, practice regularly. If you are from a non-maths or non-engineering background, give special attention. Now the strange fact or the funny fact is that even aspirants from IIT also sometimes cannot qualify the CSAT paper. So a piece of advice to all of you that once you are comfortably scoring above 80 to 90 while solving the previous year question papers, I repeat, previous year question papers, not those mock papers, तब आप अपना मेन फोकस जीएस पेपर 1 में शिफ्ट कर सकते हो, उसके पहले नहीं. So overall, we have discussed the paper 1 and paper 2 syllabus. So what shall be the strategy for prelims? First of all, clarity in basics. Start with NCERTs for history, polity, geography, economy. Build strong fundamentals. Now without this foundation, you cannot move ahead. Next is practice MCQs. Prelims is not about knowledge, it's about application. Practice as many MCQs before the exam until and unless you are comfortable in it. That's a muscle memory, okay? So basically you need to train your memory. You need to learn the techniques in solving MCQs. Current affairs, now you can read any newspapers, any one newspaper, either the Hindu or the Indian Express. Monthly compilations you can go through and link those news to the syllabus. Most importantly, previous year questions. Now this is the most underrated resources. Solve at least last 10 years prelims papers. You will notice clear patterns. You can go through the previous year question papers to identify the themes and you can prepare yourself accordingly. And the most important thing, revision, revision, revision. UPSC prelims is 70% memory game. Multiple revisions are non-negotiable. And finally, you can give at least few mocks also so that you will get a hang of it. Analyze your mistakes, improve accuracy. Now remember that prelims is not about scoring 180 plus. It's about crossing the cutoff safely. Even 100 marks can make you a topper if you clear the line. So treat prelims as the first door, nothing more. So hope you understood that what is all about this prelims exam. So now my friends, let's move to the real battleground, the mains examination. So what is this mains examination all about? Now mains is the core of UPSC. So total we have how many papers as we discussed? So we have total 9 papers. Now marks counted for the final merit is 1750 marks. So it's conducted over 5 days. Now recently our mains examination was over. So how it goes is that Friday, the first day of the exam, you will be having only one paper, that is the essay paper. Saturday, you will be having GS paper 1 and GS paper 2. Sunday, you will be having GS paper 3 and GS paper 4. Again, next Saturday, both the halves you will be having your paper 1, that is qualifying paper. Both the day means on Saturday you will be having both of your qualifying papers. So paper A in the morning shift and paper B in the afternoon shift. And Sunday you will be having your optional papers, paper 1 in the morning and paper 2 in the evening. So that is how the schedule has been prepared for. So as we discussed that it's a descriptive paper, analytical paper and application based. So you need to write of answers of about 150 to 250 word answers in your GS papers. Now here UPSC checks your ability to analyze, structure and present. Now let's dig deep into each of the papers. So first of all, what is the aim of this paper? First of all, we will be dealing with the paper A and paper B. But before that, why they have included this paper A and paper B in the syllabus? Now this is from your UPSC syllabus only. Now the aim of the paper is to test the candidate's ability to read and understand serious discursive prose and to express ideas clearly and correctly in English and Indian language concerned. So Indian language means what are the languages mentioned in the Indian Constitution. So you need to choose one language from there. So paper A is nothing but the Indian language papers, which is of 300 marks, and again it is of qualifying nature only. So Indian language means you need to choose from the 22 scheduled languages, and minimum you need to score 25% marks. Now again paper B is what? English language paper. So in that English language paper, again it's same thing only. It's a 300 marks total, and again it's a qualifying nature. So that means you need to score minimum 25% marks. So what exactly these papers have? This means what are the topics covered in these papers? So this particular paper tests your comprehension skills, précis, grammar, short essay. Just a piece of warning that don't ignore them. Every year some candidates fail here despite good GS marks. So what will happen? First of all, your qualifying paper will be checked. If you scored the minimum qualifying marks, then only your other papers will be checked. So if you don't qualify the minimum qualifying marks in your qualifying papers, your GS papers will not be checked. So hope you understood the importance of these qualifying papers. Now next comes the essay paper. So what exactly is the essay paper? So we are having one paper of 250 marks. So we need to write two essays of 1000 to 1200 words each. Now what are the topics that usually comes in recent papers? That can be philosophical, social or current affairs based. For example, take an example that one time essay came that technology as the silent factor in international relations. Or maybe the essay might be like this, that wisdom finds truth. So what some tips on this essay paper is that stick to the theme. Why I am saying this? Because if you see, this is what is mentioned in the UPSC syllabus. They have clearly mentioned that they are expecting what? To keep closely to the subject of the essay. That means whatever essay you have written, that should be closely to the subject of the essay, to arrange their ideas in orderly fashion and to write concisely. So that means you need to be more precise and you need to be close to your essay topic. Credits will be given for effective and exact expression. So hope you understood that how to frame an essay, or rather what is the expectation from UPSC regarding your essay paper. So always stick to the theme. Whatever the paper, whatever the topic that they have given, always stick to it. Structure your essay into intro, body and conclusion, because they have clearly mentioned that credit will be given for effective and exact expression. The essay paper, you need to add examples. Quotes also you can add, and you can add case studies also. So the essay paper can be a rank booster. If you practice effectively, it's possible to score even 140 plus, which will create a huge gap between you and other aspirants. Now comes the general studies papers. So let's break them one by one. First of all, we are having the general studies paper 1, which is of 250 marks. Now, what are the topics that are there in over this paper? Now, we are having Indian heritage and culture, history, geography of the world, and society. So that means we are having Indian heritage and culture, modern history and freedom struggle, post independence, world history, then we are having society, and finally we are having geography. Now, in society, what type of topics that are mentioned in this society topic, society syllabus? Now, we will be dealing with women, poverty, communalism, secularism, all those topics. Now, in geography, what are the topics that we are going to discuss? Physical resources, disasters, economic geography, all those topics that are available in this particular syllabus. Next comes General Studies Paper 2, which is again of 250 marks. So over here, what are the topics that is mentioned? Now, Constitution. Overall, they have given on a high level, they have given that we need to cover the governance, constitution, polity, social justice, and international relations. But what exactly we need to cover, we will see while we will go through the entire syllabus one by one. But on a high level, what they have mentioned is we need to cover the constitution, parliament, judiciary, federalism, panchayati raj, and in social justice, we will be dealing with schemes, health related schemes, education, all those details. And lastly, we are having international relations. So this is all about your paper 2. Now coming to paper 3, what are the topics that they have given? Now in paper 3, they have clearly mentioned that on a broad level, what are the topics that we are having? We will be dealing with Indian economy, agriculture, science and tech, environment and ecology, disaster management, and internal security. So from the syllabus only we can get an idea that what are the topics or what are the subjects that we need to cover from this paper 3. We will be covering the economic development, which is part of Indian economy, environment, biodiversity, security, disaster management, and technology. So this is all about your paper 3 syllabus, where we will be dealing with agriculture, growth, budget, and in science and tech we will be dealing with the new age science and new age technologies, that is AI, space, biotech. In environment we will be dealing with climate and biodiversity, internal security and disaster management. Now next comes paper 4, ethics paper. So this is paper 4 is ethics, integrity and aptitude. So what are the topics that we will be covering over here? We will be knowing the meaning of ethics, integrity, attitude, emotional intelligence. Then we will be covering moral thinkers. And based on those topics only, we will be dealing with case studies on governance and the ethical dilemmas. So this is the paper that will check your values and decision making. So this is the paper that will check your values and decision making. And if you can score well, or rather I will say that if you can prepare well for this particular paper, it will be a game changer for you. It will be a game changer along with essay paper. And then we are having 2 optional papers, paper 6 and paper 7. So paper 6 is nothing but your optional paper 1, and lastly we will be having the optional paper 2. Now each of these papers are of 250 marks each. So you have multiple lists of optional subjects mentioned in the syllabus. So choose the right optional, because that is very much crucial. Now from here only you can see that your optional paper will be having total of 500 marks. So from here you can imagine that how much important is your optional paper. So if you can score well in your optional paper, it will create a huge leap on your final marks. So choosing the right optional is crucial. It can decide your final rank. So just a small advice from my end, choosing an optional, you choose an optional that you enjoy and have resources for it. Don't blindly follow toppers who may have scored good marks in their optional, but it might not interest you. So rather blindly following the topper's optional, rather you choose your own optional. If you have because you need to go through that optional paper maybe for 1 year, for 2 years, maybe more than that. So you need to have that interest as well. So from here, what we have observed is mains is not about mugging up facts. It's about analyzing the issues, writing balanced answers, linking with current affairs, and most importantly, time management. Because you need to write 20 questions in 3 hours. That means for 10 marker questions, you will be approximately taking 7 to 7.5 minutes. And for 15 markers, you will be taking around 11 minutes. So in that time, and you will be writing 2 papers in a day. So it requires a lot of mastery. So that's why time management is very much important while you are preparing for your mains examination. So I would suggest you to start answer writing early. Don't wait till after prelims. So my dear aspirants, what we have learned so far is that prelims filters you, but mains shapes your rank. Prelims is equal to knowledge plus accuracy. Mains is equal to analysis plus writing skills. So now we have covered both the stages, the prelims as well as the mains. Now let's go through the personality test part. That what exactly personality test means, what they do. So now imagine that you have cleared your prelims, you survived the grind of mains, and now you stand at the final frontier, the interview, or what UPSC officially calls the personality test. Now this is the stage when knowledge takes a backseat and personality comes forward. So the duration of the exam or duration of the interview will be roughly around 30 to 40 minutes. And as we have already discussed, that marks allotted to this personality test is 275 marks. So there, what will be the panel? Now there will be around 5 to 6 experienced members like former civil servants, academicians, subject experts will be there who will test your personality. And where this particular interview or personality test will be held? In the UPSC Bhavan at Dholpur House, New Delhi. So now don't get confused. The interview is not like an oral exam in school. Now UPSC is not sitting there to grill you or humiliate you. They want to assess you, who you are as a person. So what exactly they does in the interview test or rather the personality test, let's see. So over here, exactly what do they test? Clarity of thought. Now, can you explain complex issues in a simple, clearer manner? That's the most important thing that they test. That whether you are able to clarify a complex issue in a simple, clear manner. Say, for example, if they ask that, should India ban cryptocurrencies? Now, they don't want a yes or no answer from you. They want clarity. You should give the pros, cons, regulation, international examples, and your balanced stand. Now, judgment and decision making. They will check about they will see that whether you are able to take a balanced practical decisions. For example, if you were the DM of a flood hit district, what would you prioritize first? So that's where they will check about your judgment and decision making. They will also see about your awareness of the current issues. Are you connected with the world? Now often they will ask about your state, district, hobbies, latest policies or global events. Now apart from that, they will also test about your balance of ethics and values. Now, do you uphold fairness, honesty and constitutional values? Say for example, they might ask you about corruption. Now your answer must show integrity, not excuses. And along with that, they will also see about how your communication skills are, how confident you are. So these things they will see. Now, communication skills and confidence does not mean that they will see how it's not about your English fluency, but about how calm, clear, and respectful you are. But now the important question is what they don't test. They don't test mugged up knowledge. They don't care if you can recite facts and figures like a parrot. They don't expect perfection. What they want is simply authenticity plus balance plus honesty. Now over here, I would like to share a golden rule. Now it's not that you will be knowing all the answers. Now no one can be so much knowledgeable that they will know all the answers. So in the personality test, if you say that I don't know, that is absolutely okay. आपको सब नहीं आता होगा और पैनल ये भी जानते, पैनल भी ये जानते. अगर आपको कोई सवाल नहीं आता है तो पोलाइटली से सॉरी सर और मैम, I am not aware of this, but I will read about it. This shows honesty and composure. Now, if you bluff, that is the worst mistake you have done. If you bluff for one question also, that will ruin your entire interview. So now the question comes that how to prepare for the interview. Now the most important thing is your DAF, Detailed Application Form. Now this is the Bible of your interview because they will come to know about you only through this DAF only. Because obviously they are not aware of you, right? So whatever you write in the DAF, they will come to know about you through that DAF only. So prepare your DAF sincerely, as they ask 50 to 60% of questions from your DAF itself. They usually ask about your hometown, hobbies, graduation subject, optional subject, achievements. All are fair game. Say for example, if you write cricket as your hobby, so expect questions like how does IPL impact domestic cricket? And next important thing is current affairs will be asked. Even sometimes they may ask, suppose your day of interview is today. Okay, so they might ask some questions related to today's newspaper as well. So be updated with last 6 to 12 months events. Now focus on India's foreign policy, governance reforms, economy, environment and social issues. Now mock interviews, that's how you can practice yourself. So give mocks to practice handling pressure and improve yourself based on the suggestions provided. But don't let mocks define you. You can imagine your mocks interviews as the stage rehearsal before the final act. So how to develop your personality? So be polite, respectful, confident. Work on your communication. Practice speaking your thoughts out loud in a structured way. The real purpose of the interview is that UPSC wants to see if you have the potential to be a responsible, balanced and ethical administrator. So treat it like a conversation and not a cross-examination. So be humble but confident. Show awareness but admit when you don't know. Always keep nation first in your answers. So my dear aspirants, always remember, Prelims tests your knowledge, Mains tests your analytical skills, Interview tests your personality. And when these three combines, you become a true UPSC product, an aspirant ready to be a civil servant. So now here was the discussion all about the stages of the exam. So now you know about the stages of the exam. So now just brief about the exam calendar. So as already discussed in previous slides about the exam cycle, our prelims exam is usually held in, so notification will be released in the month of February and our prelims exam will be held somewhere in May or June and mains exam will be held in August or September and interviews will start in the next year January to April and finally your final result will come in the April or May. So by the time you get your result, an entire year has passed. So this is the general exam calendar for UPSC Civil Service examination. So as we already discussed that syllabus is not just a boring list of topics. It's the Bible. So syllabus is your Bible. So it's your GPS, your compass, your guiding light. Now without syllabus clarity, UPSC preparation feels like a walking in a jungle without a map. So why is the syllabus so important? Now UPSC does not ask anything outside the syllabus. Every PYQ, that is previous year questions, can be mapped to one or the other topics of the syllabus. Without syllabus clarity, you will fall into the trap of reading random books, random current affairs, and wasting precious time. So now the big question is that how to master the syllabus. So what are the steps that you can follow to master the syllabus? Let's see. First of all, print it. You can keep a print or you can keep a copy of your prelims and mains exams. You can keep a printed copy of prelims and mains syllabus at your study desk. Read it daily for the first month until you memorize the broad areas. Because knowing the syllabus will help you in writing your mains answers as well. Now map everything to the syllabus. Now what does this mean? Say for example you are reading newspaper. Link each article to GS paper 2, paper 3, etc. For example, let's suppose while you were going through the newspaper, a Supreme Court judgment you came across. So try to link it with the GS polity paper. So this is how you can link your current affairs to the syllabus. Or rather, for example, you have heard about or you have read about some news about cyclone. Now cyclone may come in GS paper 1 as a part of your geography syllabus, or it may come as a part of your GS paper 3 syllabus as well, that is disaster management. So this is how you can link the newspaper or news from the newspaper to your syllabus. Next comes PYQs. Make notes syllabus wise, not source wise. So don't make polity notes from Lakshmikant or economy notes from any standard book. Instead, structure notes as per GS2 topics. Like for example, while you are going through the parliament syllabus or while you are making notes about parliament, just prepare the topic on parliament in this way, how it is in a way such that all the topics which are mentioned in the syllabus should be covered up. That's how you need to cover. For example, judiciary topic. So when you are preparing your notes from judiciary, just prepare it in such a way that it should come like that every points mentioned in the syllabus should be covered up. And finally, trace PYQs back to syllabus. Now, what does this means? Take every PYQ and ask, which line of the syllabus did this come from? Now, this habit will make you understand UPSC's thought process. Now, if you can understand UPSC's thought process, so you can predict the questions, which will help you to prepare your particular topic in a more holistic manner. So why I am saying this, that you should always do syllabus first approach. Now it cuts away the FOMO, that is fear of missing out. That you might be feeling that you have not covered this part of the syllabus or you have not covered this topic which is mentioned in the syllabus. So from the very beginning, if your approach is syllabus based, in that case, it will cut away your FOMO. Now brings focus to your study, makes revision structured, helps in writing relevant answers. So remember one thing, syllabus is not a list, it's a mindset. Because while you go through the syllabus, then only you can understand that it's the Bible. Syllabus and PYQ is the Bible and nothing else. Now let's tackle another important concept, that is static versus dynamic parts of UPSC. What does this mean? Now this is where most aspirants gets confused. So let me simplify this one. Now static portion. Now what the static portion is all about? Now static portion means That those topics that don't change. For example, Indian Constitution, 1857 revolt, Himalayas, plate tectonics. Now, for this, whichever sources that you will be going through, whether be it NCRT, standard books like Lakshmikant, Spectrum, etc., the topics will not change. Now, what is dynamic portion? Now, dynamic portion are those topics which are linked to the current affairs. Now, that will change every year to year. For example, if suppose the new bills are coming, or any new Supreme Court judgments came, or budget, or economic survey, or any new summit have happened. So, those are related to current affairs. So, that will change every now and then. But what is this overlap? What is this overlap zone? Now, this is where most UPSC questions are born. It's the intersection of static plus current. For example, let's take one example that, say, suppose for example, a question came that discuss the significance of Article 370 in the context of Indian federalism. So, what was the question? Now, discuss the concept or significance of Article 370 in the context of Indian federalism. So now if you see that Article 370, that means that's the static portion which is there in the Constitution. Now over here in this question you can write about the revoke or abrogation of Article 370 that happened in 2019. Now that is your dynamic portion. Now what is the overlap zone? Now overlap zone is constitutional principles, current event. Say for example this one only. So Article 370, okay. Now Article 370 is part of our Indian Constitution, so that means that is the static part. And suppose any 2019 abrogation of Article 370 came, that means some ordinances or certain bills that came, that means that is your dynamic part. So what is the overlap zone? Now constitutional principle plus current event. So hope you understood that in a particular question, what is the static zone, what is the dynamic zone, and what is the overlap zone. Let's take another example. That what is carbon capture, utilization and storage, and what is its role in tackling the climate change. So that means the question came on the topic of what? Na climate change. Now climate change is rather, you can say that climate change is a dynamic portion, or rather you can say that it is part of the overlap zone only. How come? What was the question? Now what is carbon capture, utilization and storage? What is its role in tackling climate change? So over here what we can do is initially we can give certain definitions. We can give the mechanism of carbon capture, utilization and storage. So that means those are the static part. Now what is the dynamic part? Now certain reports and all, or Niti Aayog CCUS or Niti Aayog carbon capture, utilization and storage report, India's net zero 2070 commitment. So those are the dynamic part. Now what is the overlap zone? Now concept, whatever we have understood from this static part, and whatever the recent developments that have happened as part of the dynamic part, both will comprise in the overlap zone. So this is how you need to connect it. Let's take another example. Now in India-Africa digital partnership is achieving mutual respect, co-development and long-term institutional partnerships. Elaborate. So what was the question? Now India-Africa digital partnership is achieving mutual respect, co-development and long-term institutional partnerships. Elaborate. So over here we can go through the India static part is India-Africa relations. Dynamic part is recent projects like E-Vidya Bharti, E-Arogya Bharti. Overlap part is the theory plus recent applications. So that is how you need to connect the static and the dynamic part. Now why overlap zone? Why this particular zone matters so much? Now if you go through the previous year question papers, you will see that UPSC loves application based questions. So now the papers, the mains papers, or even these prelims papers also are more analytical in nature. Now, pure static questions are very rare now. Even the pure dynamic questions are also rare. But when they mix static plus dynamic, it becomes a real test of understanding. So now the important question is how to prepare static plus dynamic together. As we discussed already, always connect theory with news. Example, while you are reading fundamental rights from the newspaper, note down Supreme Court judgments. Or, for example, while you are studying a topic on agriculture, linked with MSP debates, crop insurance schemes. You can use another approach as well, that you can make notes on two columns. Okay, in one of the column it will be static and another column it will be current. Say for example, judiciary is the topic. So on the static part you can answer all the static related points, you can prepare the notes, and on the current part you can prepare all the dynamic portions. Like on the static part you can mention about the constitutional provisions, structures, and on the current part you can mention about the NJSC debate, pendency of cases, recent Supreme Court judgments, and most importantly, practice answers. Practice writing answers with static plus dynamic blend. Say for example, while you are writing an answer, your answer structure will be intro plus body plus conclusion. Now in the intro part, either you can give static related thing or any report based things which is dynamic in nature. And in the body, you can either mix it with static and dynamic and both of them. And in the conclusion, you can give a balanced view. So hope you understood that how to cover up this particular thing, that static plus dynamic portion. सो अब तक हमने देखा कैसे प्रीलिम्स, मेंस और इंटरव्यू पूरे एग्जाम को स्ट्रक्चर देते हैं, फिर सिलेबस कैसे कंपस का काम करता है, और स्टैटिक प्लस डायनामिक प्लस ओवरलैप जोन कैसे यूपीएससी के रियल क्वेश्चंस फ्रेम करते हैं. तो चलो अब बात करते हैं एक और इम्पॉर्टेंट और प्रैक्टिकल चीज़ की, दैट इज सब्जेक्ट वाइज वेटेज. नाउ दैट इज वेरी मच इम्पॉर्टेंट. ना ये एनालिसिस तुम्हें बताएगा कि कौन से सब्जेक्ट्स हाई रिटर्न है और कौन से सब्जेक्ट्स को बैलेंस करके पढ़ना चाहिए. नाउ इफ वी गो थ्रू द प्रीलिम्स सब्जेक्ट वाइज वेटेज फॉर लास्ट 10 years, we will see that, so this is the weightage of the last 10 years papers. So we will see that 12 to 20 questions every year comes from what? From history part. If you go through this part, you will see that 12 to 20 questions comes from history part. Focus, mostly the focus is on modern India and the freedom struggle. Now, what are the sources you can refer? You can refer Spectrum, NCRT's Art and Culture Basics, all those things. In geography, they are asking about 10 to 12 questions on a daily basis. Now, what are the topics they are covering? From which topics they are covering these questions? Now, they are asking questions from mapping, environment-linked geography, gaining weight. Because now they are mixing the geography questions with environment-related questions. So, sources I can refer you that you can go through the NCRT's, GC Leong, and current climate reports and all those things. Now, from polity, if you go through the last 10 years paper, you will see that approx 13 to 22 questions are coming. So on an average, you can say that around 15 to 16 questions are coming from the polity part. Now from prelims perspective, you can cover Lakshmikant and the current affairs. Now economy also same thing, that 13 to 18 questions are coming from the economy part. So it is more application based. Inflation, RBI, budget, schemes. Now basic NCRTs plus economic survey plus current issues, you can follow these things. Now science and tech. Now from science and tech, every year 7 to 14 questions are coming. Now they are mainly focusing on biotechnology, space, IT, defense. Now what are the sources you can refer? You can refer those current affairs magazines and all. That will suffice your preparation. Now next comes environment and ecology. So from environment and ecology, every year around 10 to 17 questions are coming. So if you see that the recent years, the questions from environment and ecology has increased. Now, how the questions are coming? Mostly from the current affairs related only. That they are linking the current affairs part with the static part. Like that, like they are linking the COP, IPCC, biodiversity reports, all those things. And lastly, current affairs. So mostly if you see that around 15 to 25 questions came from the current affairs part. So on an average, you can consider that around 20 questions came from the current affairs, where they are asking the questions on indices, schemes, international groupings. So this is all about your prelims last year's paper. So what are the key takeaways if you take what are the key observations from this prelims paper? Now polity plus economy, high return and predictable. History plus environment, strong pillars. Now current affairs and science and technology, dynamic but must do. So by going through this previous year question papers or by going through this chart, that from which particular subject the more number of questions came. So you will get an idea that which subject you need to prioritize more and which you can prioritize less as well. Now come back to the mains observations. So now mains we will go through paper wise. So in GS paper 1, we have observed that in GS paper 1, we have these many topics. So from the culture part, if you go through this one, you will see that from the culture part, every year 10 to 30 marks questions are coming. So that means it is pretty much important. Now from the modern history part, that is the freedom struggle and the modern history part, 30 to 60 marks questions are coming. So that means it is most important. World history. Now if you go through this world history part, hardly 0 to 30 marks. Sometimes, like say for example in 2022, none of the questions came from world history. Same goes in 2020 as well. So none of the questions came from world history. So that means, so from here what we have observed is, if you are covering history, you can give less importance to world history and post-independence as well. So if you go through the post-independence part, you will see that questions came only in 21, 22 and 23. So that means this is how you need to prioritize the subject. Next comes society. So from society on an average, 75 marks questions are coming. So that is why this part is so much important. So from here to here, so this is all about the society part. So that is why society is very much important, where approx 75 to 90 marks questions are coming. And lastly, the geography part. So if you go through this year's, that is 2025 mains geography, GS paper 1 paper as well, you will see that from geography portion, there were approximately 100 marks questions came. So from here, we will get an idea that how much important is geography. So what are the key takeaways from this paper 1? Now modern history plus society plus geography is equal to backbone. So modern history, that is very much important. So a modern history part, so even if you don't consider post-independence or even if you prepare less in the world history, that will suffice. But you can't prioritize less to geography. You need to focus more on geography and society as well. So hope you understood the syllabus structure or the importance of paper 1, from which topic the paper 1 syllabus or questions are coming more. Next comes paper 2. So from paper 2, what is the topic that we are having? Now basics of constitution, or from the basic structure you will see that approximately 20 to 30 marks questions are coming. Similarly, it goes for federalism and local bodies, parliament and elections. From social justice, it's a very small part only, but still they are asking around 35 to 40 marks questions from this social justice part. And again, international relations, they are asking the same number of questions, like approximately 40 to 50 marks questions they are asking from international relations. So this is how you can prioritize the paper 2 syllabus as well. So what is the key takeaway from the paper 2 syllabus or paper 2 analysis that we had over the last 10 years? Now polity plus schemes plus IR is equal to high focus. So you need to focus more on the polity schemes, international relations, all those things. Now coming to paper 3. So paper 3, what are the subjects that we are having? We are having economy, agriculture, science and tech, environment, disaster management and security. So what are the topics, from which topic the most number of questions are coming? Now economy and growth. So if you see that approximately from this particular topic, 35 to 40 marks or 50, rather 50 marks questions are coming. Now from agriculture, that is very much important. So from agriculture also approximately 40 to 50, 60 marks questions are coming. Now again science and tech also, if you go through the science and tech portion, you will see that approximately 20 to 35 marks questions are coming. And next comes environment. So sometimes environment questions are mixed up with disaster management questions as well. So approximately 35 to 60 marks questions are coming. In fact, in 2023, 65 marks questions came from environment. And next we are having the security, internal security. Same thing over from there also, we are getting approximately 20 to 30 marks questions. So what is the key takeaway from this GS paper 3 syllabus? So what are the observations that we had? So economy plus agriculture plus environment. These are the most important things from this particular topic. Now next comes GS paper 4. So GS paper 4 is my ethics, integrity and aptitude paper. So from here, out of 250 marks, it's almost evenly distributed between theoretical questions and case study related questions. So out of 250 marks, approximately 100 to 120 marks questions comes from the theory based, and the remaining 120 to 150 marks comes from the case studies. So what is the case study related to, or what are the key observations we had from this particular paper? So if we see that case studies are the game changer. So over here what we have observed is that consistent structure with questions from which topic the more number of questions are coming from ethical theories, moral thinkers and public service values. And regular case studies are also coming addressing the ethical dilemmas, administrative challenges and decision making scenarios. So these are the observations that we had from the last 10 years paper. And then we are obviously having the optional subjects, 500 marks, as we already discussed, that will create your, or else rather we can say that will make or break. If you score good in your optional paper, your name will be in the final merit list. If you cannot score good in the optional paper, likely your name will not be there in the final merit list. And as we already discussed that there is nothing called as best optional. The optional subject which you are comfortable with, if you have interest in that subject, if resources are provided or if resources are there for that particular subject, that will help you. That's it and nothing more. So now we have understood that which subject needs to be prioritized and which we can prioritize a bit less as well. So now next comes the most important thing, the current affairs. Now अक्सर एस्पिरेंट्स के माइंड में ये कन्फ्यूजन्स होते हैं कि कितना करंट अफेयर्स करना है, क्या सिर्फ न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ना इनफ है, मंथली मैगजीन्स ले लूँ या डेली नोट्स बनाओ। चलिए सब क्लियर करते हैं इसी वीडियो में। Now the question is, why is current affairs so much important? Now UPSC does not want candidates who just mug up books. They want future administrators, people who are aware of society, governance, economy and the world. So static portion gives you what? Now gives you the foundation. But current affairs gives life to your answers. Suppose in your answer you have written entirely the answer is based on your static portion. But if you give a touch of current affairs in that particular answer, that will bring life to your answer. So without current affairs, even a well-structured answer looks dull. But with current affairs, your answer becomes relevant, sharp and high quality. Now the next question, that whether current affairs plays any role in the prelims or not. Now, as we saw in the previous slides that in prelims every year 20 to 25 questions are directly linked to current affairs. So questions on species in the news, government schemes, reports, international groupings, indices and rankings, space missions, defense, tech, etc. So all these are very much important while you are preparing for current affairs. Say for example in prelims 2020, UPSC asked about a question on Asiatic lion conservation project. Now what is the static part over here? Asiatic lion, which is found in Gir forest. Now what is the dynamic part over here? Now recent conservation project in news. Similarly in prelims 2021, UPSC has asked about PM Kusum scheme. So that means UPSC is asking current or dynamic or recent events as well. Similarly in 2023, UPSC had asked a question on carbon credit markets. So that is how your current affairs are very much important in your prelims preparation as well. So my dear aspirants, lesson clear है. Current affairs के बिना prelims clear करना tough है. So hope you understood what is the relevance of current affairs in prelims exam and what is the relevance of current affairs in your mains exam. So this was all about your current affairs in prelims. Now let's see how current affairs is affecting your mains exam. So if you go through the previous year questions, you will see that current affairs in mains becomes even more crucial. Almost every GS paper pulls directly from it. Let's take an example. Now in GS paper 1, a question came that how are climate change and the sea level rise affecting the very existence of small island nations? This is your 2025 question only. So what was the question? Now how are climate change and the sea level rise affecting the very existence of many island nations? Discuss with examples. That means you need to provide examples as well. So what is the static component in this question? Now you need to understand the coastal topography, low-lying areas, island ecosystems. So what is the current affairs lens or what is the dynamic portion from here? You need to provide real world examples. For example, Maldives, Pacific nations, showcasing climate impact and policy responses. For example, you can mention about Paris Agreement or climate migration. So this was the question that came in 2025 mains only. So you could understand that how current affairs or dynamic related things can be integrated in your GS paper 1 as well. Now let's talk about GS paper 2, how they have integrated it. Now this is also this year's mains paper only, this year's question only. So what was the question? Now India-Africa Digital Partnership is achieving mutual respect, co-development and long-term institutional partnerships. Elaborate. So what they have asked for? Now India-Africa Digital Partnership is achieving mutual respect, co-development and long-term institutional partnerships. So what is the static component in this particular part? Now India-Africa Forum Summit Framework, you can mention about the concept of digital diplomacy as well. What is the dynamic component from this part? You can mention about the Pan-African e-network, which is nothing but the telemedicine and tele-education. You can mention about the e-Vidya Bharti and e-Arogya Bharti. That is the projects, these are nothing but the projects where India is providing digital education and health to African nations. So if you can mention about these dynamic portions in more or less in this question, it will add more life on your answer. Not only this, let's see how current affairs is integrated in paper 3 and paper 4 as well. So this is your question on 2025 mains only. So what was the question? Now what is carbon capture, utilization and storage? What was the question? Now what is carbon capture, utilization and storage? And also they have asked for what is the potential role of CCUS in tackling the climate change. So what is the static component of over here? Now you can mention about the CCUS. What is the current affairs component? You can mention about the Niti Aayog CCUS report, which outlines what? Now India's roadmap, potential for industrial decarbonization. Next, you can mention about CCUS pilot projects in India, example in NTPC Tata Steel. You can also mention about the IEA net zero roadmap, where they have mentioned that CCUS is critical for global 2050 net zero goals. So you can understand that how much current affairs is related to your paper 3 as well. And finally in paper 4 as well, how you can integrate current affairs. See, the question was that in the present digital age, so that means in the question only they have integrated the current affairs or the dynamic portion. Social media has revolutionized our way of communication and interaction. However, it has raised several ethical issues and challenges. So describe the key ethical dilemmas in this regard. So now you could understand that what is the static part over here? Now ethical theories, like ethical dilemma, ethical issues and all the static part. What is the dynamic part? Now misinformation, privacy issues, hate speech. So you could understand the pattern, right? Every mains paper thrives on static plus current blend. As we have discussed in the previous slides, the overlapping zone. So this is what is the overlapping zone from where UPSC is asking questions. So in all the GS papers, current affairs are very much important. And most importantly, in your in your personality test. So let's see what is the role of current affairs in interview or personality test. Now, as we have already discussed that interview is the stage where current affairs is non-negotiable. So panel will obviously check your awareness of ongoing issues. Now panel can ask questions on your home state or district issues, national policies, schemes or debates, global events like Russia-Ukraine war, BRICS expansion, climate summits. But here's the twist. They don't want fact machines. They want your balanced opinion. So example, if they ask that what do you think about the Uniform Civil Code? Don't just give legal points. Give balanced view like the constitutional basis, gender equality, diversity concerns, need for gradual consensus. So now we know that current affairs are required in all the stages of the exam. But the important thing is that how to prepare for current affairs. So as we have already discussed in the previous slides that you can follow any one newspaper, either the Hindu or the Indian Express, and any one monthly compilations from any magazines. The revision strategy is very much simple. Revise current affairs not in silo. You need to integrate the current affairs with your static portion. That's it. So that is the golden rule. Don't study current affairs separately. Always link it with the syllabus. Example, अगर डिजिटल पब्लिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर से क्वेश्चन आता है तो वो क्वेश्चन मेरे जीएस पेपर 2 में भी है टॉपिक और वो पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक मेरे जीएस पेपर 3 में भी है. फॉर एग्जांपल इकोनॉमी इन टेक्नोलॉजी. So you need to integrate both the papers. That is the dynamic portions. So that's how you can link that particular topic with the syllabus and frame your answer accordingly. So in this way, your preparation stays exam oriented and not scattered. So this is all about the exam pattern and this is all about the role of current affairs. But now another important thing that we need to understand. UPSC doesn't just test your knowledge. They are looking for future civil servants. And for that, they look for certain qualities at every stage of the exam. मान लो तुम एक आईएएस ऑफिसर बन गए, तो तुम्हें एक दिन फ्लड रिलीफ का काम हैंडल करना है, अगले दिन डिस्ट्रिक्ट की लॉ एंड ऑर्डर सिचुएशन संभालनी है और फिर एक दिन फार्मर्स प्रोटेस्ट रिजॉल्व करना है. इन सब सिचुएशंस में सिर्फ बुक की नॉलेज काम नहीं आएगा. वहाँ काम आएगी तुम्हारी सोच, जजमेंट, एम्पैथी और डिसीजन मेकिंग। इसीलिए यूपीएससी अपने हर स्टेज पे क्वालिटीज जज करता है। चलिए स्टेप बाय स्टेप देखते हैं कौन कौन से क्वालिटीज यूपीएससी इज लुकिंग फॉर। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, यूपीएससी इज लुकिंग फॉर सर्टेन इंटेलेक्चुअल क्वालिटीज। व्हाट इज दैट? फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, इट इज क्लैरिटी ऑफ थॉट। तुम्हें कॉम्प्लेक्स चीज को सिंपल लैंग्वेज में एक्सप्लेन करना आना चाहिए। प्रीलिम्स में क्लैरिटी दिखाती है तुम्हारे एक्यूरेसी, मेंस में क्लैरिटी दिखाते हैं तुम्हारे स्ट्रक्चर्ड राइटिंग को, और इंटरव्यू में क्लैरिटी दिखाते हैं तुम्हारे बैलेंस्ड ओपिनियन को। सो यू मस्ट हैव अ क्लैरिटी ऑफ थॉट। दैट्स व्हाट यूपीएससी इज लुकिंग फॉर, नो कंफ्यूजन इन योर माइंड। नेक्स्ट कम्स एनालिटिकल एबिलिटी। मतलब तुम किसी भी इशू को टुकड़ों में तोड़ सको, प्रोज एंड कॉन्स समझा सको और बैलेंस्ड कंक्लूजन दे सको। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, let's take an example on the question on farm bills. So your analysis should be in this way: farmers का viewpoint plus government का perspective plus international comparison plus way forward. So that is how your analytical abilities they will judge from. Next is the problem solving approach. यूपीएससी चाहता है कि तुम सिर्फ प्रॉब्लम्स आइडेंटिफाई ना करो बल्कि प्रैक्टिकल वर्केबल सॉल्यूशंस भी बताओ। एग्जाम्पल, एथिक्स केस स्टडी में अगर करप्शन का इशू है तो तुम्हारा आंसर सिर्फ करप्शन रॉन्ग है नहीं होना चाहिए, तुम्हें सोल्यूशन भी देना होगा। ट्रांसपेरेंसी, यू कैन मेंशन अबाउट अकाउंटेबिलिटी, चेक्स एंड बैलेंसेस। So that is how they are looking for the solution centric approach, not the problem centric approach. Everyone knows, सबको पता है कि प्रॉब्लम्स है, बट उसका सोल्यूशन क्या है वो हमें बताना पड़ेगा। नेक्स्ट इज द बैलेंस्ड व्यू। ये बहुत क्रूशियल है। यूपीएससी डजंट लाइक एक्सट्रीम ओपिनियंस। अगर तुम एक ही साइड पकड़ के लिखोगे तो मार्क्स कट होंगे ना। बैलेंस्ड आंसर, दोनों पर्सपेक्टिव समझाओ फिर अपना स्टैंड दो। तो कोई भी एनालिटिकल क्वेश्चन में दोनों पर्सपेक्टिव्स मुझे समझाना पड़ेगा, उसके बाद फिर मुझे मेरा स्टैंड क्या है वो देना पड़ेगा। सो दैट इज व्हाट यूपीएससी इज लुकिंग फॉर, द इंटेलेक्चुअल क्वालिटीज। नेक्स्ट कम्स द अवेयरनेस क्वालिटीज। सो फ्रॉम हियर ओनली यू कैन गेट एन आइडिया दैट नॉलेज इज वन थिंग बट अवेयरनेस इज डीपर। यूपीएससी वंस ऑफिसर्स जो सोसाइटी और दुनिया के पल्स को समझते हैं। ना ओवर हियर वी आर हैविंग जनरल अवेयरनेस, लाइक तुम्हें करंट इश्यूज, गवर्नमेंट स्कीम्स, इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस के बारे में अपडेटेड रहना चाहिए। नेक्स्ट इज द लिंकिंग नॉलेज। तुम्हें स्टैटिक नॉलेज को करंट से कनेक्ट करना आना चाहिए। एग्जाम्पल, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशंस आर्टिकल ऑन प्राइवेसी प्लस आधार सुप्रीम कोर्ट जजमेंट। सो ये दोनों चीज को तुम्हें कनेक्ट करना आना चाहिए। थर्ड पार्ट इज द कॉन्टेक्चुअल अंडरस्टैंडिंग। मतलब तुम चीजों को इंडियन कॉन्टेक्स्ट में रख सको। एग्जाम्पल, क्लाइमेट चेंज। नाउ व्हाइल यू आर डूइंग द टॉपिक ऑन क्लाइमेट चेंज, यू नीड टू थिंक अबाउट फ्रॉम इंडियन पर्सपेक्टिव, फार्मर्स की लाइवलीहुड और वगैरह वगैरह, इंडियन सीजन्स के बेसिस पे, नॉट जस्ट गोइंग थ्रू द पेरिस अग्रीमेंट एंड ऑल। So this is another quality that UPSC is looking for. Now the third quality is personality qualities. So what does this means? UPSC के लिए तुम्हारा personality बहुत बड़ा factor है. That's why they are giving 275 marks in the third stage of the exam, that is the personality test. तो इसमें क्या क्या चेक होता है? Honesty and integrity. तो as we already discussed that कभी भी bluff मत करो. If you don't know, say it politely. Next is confidence without arrogance. Opinion रखना जरूरी है, पर उसको पोलाइटली रखना और arrogance अवॉइड करना और भी जरूरी है। थर्ड इज empathy and sensitivity. गुड एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर वो होता है जो आम आदमी की प्रॉब्लम्स समझ सके। फोर्थ इज द लीडरशिप एंड कम्युनिकेशन। तुम्हें अपनी टीम को इंस्पायर करना आना चाहिए और अपनी बात क्लियरली कम्युनिकेट करना आना चाहिए। तो क्लियर कम्युनिकेशन इज वेरी मच इंपॉर्टेंट। सो नेक्स्ट व्हाट इज यूपीएससी लुकिंग फॉर? Now they are looking for certain administrative qualities. Obviously you are going in the administration, so they will be looking for certain administrative qualities as well. So यूपीएससी को तुम में ऑफिसर मटेरियल देखना है, तो इसमें क्या क्या चीज वो लोग बेसिकली ढूंढते हैं. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल योर डिसीजन मेकिंग. एथिक्स पेपर और इंटरव्यू दोनों में टेस्ट हो जाते हैं तुम्हारे डिसीजन मेकिंग. एथिक्स में केस स्टडीज में तुम्हारे डिसीजन मेकिंग हो जाते हैं टेस्ट, और पर्सनालिटी टेस्ट को वही है. नेक्स्ट इज अकाउंटेबिलिटी, अपने एक्शंस की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी लेना. थर्ड इज क्राइसिस हैंडलिंग, फ्लड्स, राइट्स, नेचुरल डिजास्टर्स, काम रहना चाहिए और बैलेंस्ड डिसीजन लेना है. फोर्थ इज ऑब्जेक्टिविटी, बायस के बिना डिसीजन लेना, ऑलवेज इन पब्लिक इंटरेस्ट एंड नॉट फ्रॉम पर्सनल इंटरेस्ट. So these are the administrative qualities that UPSC is looking for. And finally, the ethical and moral qualities that UPSC is looking for. Now, what are those? Commitment to public service, nation first attitude. Next is integrity and probity, corruption free, fair decision making. Third is emotional intelligence, लॉ और ह्यूमैनिटी दोनों को बैलेंस करना आना चाहिए. सो इफ आई समराइज दिस एंटायर थिंग, what should be our UPSC's ideal candidate from UPSC's perspective? So if I need to sum up the entire thing in one line, UPSC एक ऐसे कैंडिडेट को ढूंढता है जो नॉलेजेबल हो, अवेयर हो अपने सराउंडिंग्स के बारे में, एम्पैथेटिक हो और ऑब्जेक्टिव हो. सो रिमेंबर वन थिंग, दैट तुम्हारा दिमाग और तुम्हारा दिल दोनों इक्वली इंपॉर्टेंट है. सिर्फ नॉलेज से आईएएस नहीं बनते. आईएएस बनते हैं क्लैरिटी प्लस एम्पैथी प्लस इंटीग्रिटी से. So hope you understood that what UPSC is actually looking for from us. अब एक और इंटरेस्टिंग और ज़रूरी टॉपिक को डिस्कस करते हैं. Myths versus realities of UPSC. So we have many myths surrounding us. So आप में से बहुत सारे के मन में ये डाउट रहता होगा कि क्या 16-18 घंटा पढ़ना पड़ता है क्या कोचिंग के बिना UPSC क्लियर नहीं होता? ऑप्शनल सब्जेक्ट कौन सा स्कोरिंग है, टॉपर्स को फॉलो करूं या मेरे खुद का फॉलो करूं? तो चलो सब मिथ्स को तोड़ते हैं और रियलिटी समझते हैं. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, मिथ नंबर 1, ओनली IIT और IIM या बिग यूनिवर्सिटी स्टूडेंट्स क्लियर UPSC. बट इन रियलिटी इट्स एब्सोल्युटली नॉट. हर साल टॉपर्स स्मॉल टाउन्स, स्टेट कॉलेजेस और ऑर्डिनरी बैकग्राउंड से ही आते हैं. Example, if you go through Tina Dabi ma'am or Anudip Durishetty sir is not from IIT. He is from a certain normal engineering college only. Now myth number 2 is that UPSC में डेली 16-18 घंटा पढ़ना पड़ता है. नहीं भाई, 6-8 घंटा और फोकस स्टडी डेली प्लस कंसिस्टेंसी एनफ होता है. क्वालिटी मैटर्स मोर देन क्वांटिटी. थर्ड मिथ इज दैट यू नीड 50+ बुक्स टू प्रिपेयर. अभी इतने सारे रिसोर्सेज को पढ़ाई करोगे तो सिलेबस कब खत्म करोगे? UPSC इज अबाउट लिमिटेड सोर्सेज एंड द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग, मल्टीपल रिविजन्स. द टॉपर्स यूजुअली स्टिक्स टू ओनली NCERTs plus 1-2 स्टैंडर्ड बुक्स एंड द PYQs. दैट्स इट. नाउ मिथ नंबर 4, करंट अफेयर्स का मतलब यही है कि पूरा न्यूज़पेपर मुझे डेली पढ़ना है. नो, इट्स एब्सोल्युटली रॉन्ग. UPSC आस्क्स इशू बेस्ड, नॉट रैंडम इवेंट्स. नाउ सिलेक्टिव रीडिंग प्लस लिंकिंग टू सिलेबस, दैट इज व्हाट मोर इम्पॉर्टेंट. लिंक योर न्यूज टू सिलेबस एंड रिवाइज मंथली. सो दैट्स व्हाई आई एम रिपीटेडली सेइंग द सेम थिंग, हाउ मच इम्पॉर्टेंट सिलेबस इज. नेक्स्ट मिथ इज दैट UPSC इज अनप्रेडिक्टेबल एंड लक बेस्ड. Luck plays maybe 10% role, but 90% is strategy plus consistency. From the PYQs, we showed a clear patterns, like that luck is there, obviously. Luck कैसे प्ले होता है, इसमें कैसे रोल प्ले करते हैं UPSC के जर्नी में. सपोज फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आप जिस सेंटर में बैठे हो उसी दिन वो रूम का फैन खराब हो गया, तो वो लक है आपको उस गर्मी में, क्योंकि एग्जाम होता है, प्रीलिम्स का एग्जाम होता है मई जून में, तो वो आपका लक है कि उसी दिन वो और सपोज बाकी एस्पिरेंट्स का फैन बहुत सही से चल रहा है, तो वो आपको एडजस्ट करना पड़ेगा। आप उसको बोल सकते हो कि आपका लक खराब है, उसमें आपका फैन खराब हो गया, तो उस गर्मी में आपको उसी कंसंट्रेशन के साथ एग्जाम देना है। बट इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि पूरा एग्जाम ही लक बेस्ड है। 90% is strategy plus consistency and 10% is luck. Next is English medium aspirants always have advantage. False. हर साल टॉपर्स हिंदी और रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस से भी आते थे। Now clarity of thought is more important than language in which you are writing the exam. Next myth is that if some questions in mains are tough, leave them. That's absolutely no. That's absolutely wrong. Attempt 90 to 100% of the paper. Try to attempt 100% of the paper. Even short answers जिसके बारे में आपको कुछ नहीं पता है, at least that will fetch marks. Now blank answers, if you have not written anything, that will give you 0. But if you write something, at least you will get half marks. Now that half of marks will clear your exam. सपोज आप एक एग्जाम्पल से बताता हूँ, सोच लो कि पर्टिकुलर पेपर 1 में आप 10 मार्कर क्वेश्चन आप छोड़ दिए हो, एक 10 मार्कर क्वेश्चन फुल छोड़ दिए हो। तो ऐसे आप अगर चारों पेपर्स में करेंगे तो आपका 40 मार्क्स चला गया, बिना पेपर, मतलब उसी दिन आपका 40 मार्क्स चला गया। तो 40 मार्क्स कैन मेक और ब्रेक, दैट्स इट। नाउ नेक्स्ट मिथ इज कोचिंग इज कंपल्सरी। The reality is coaching can help. Obviously, it can help, but it is not compulsory. Many toppers crack with self-study plus PYQs plus understanding the entire exam pattern. The most important myth is that you must choose a scoring optional. अभी ऐसा कोई scoring optional नहीं होता है. Reality is every optional you can score well. ना बेस्ट ऑप्शनल बोल के कुछ नहीं होता है, वो वैरी करता है पर्सन टू पर्सन। ना फॉर यू द बेस्ट ऑप्शनल इज जिसमें आपका इंटरेस्ट हो और जिसमें रिसोर्सेज अवेलेबल हो। नेक्स्ट मिथ इज दैट यूपीएससी प्रिपरेशन इज इक्वल टू नो हॉबीज नो हेल्थ। ये बिल्कुल गलत है। आपको मैंने दिखाया कि सिलेबस में कैसे इंटरव्यू स्टेज में और पर्सनालिटी टेस्ट में आपके डैफ के बेस में क्वेश्चंस आते, तो वहाँ पे आपको आपका हॉबीज लिखना है। तो अगर आपके पास कुछ हॉबीज ही नहीं है तो आप डैफ में क्या लिखेंगे? तो ये बिल्कुल गलत है ना। बैलेंस इज इक्वल टू सक्सेस। यू नीड टू बैलेंस आउट एवरीथिंग। नाउ हेल्दी रूटीन प्लस हॉबीज प्लस एक्सरसाइज कीप्स यू कंसिस्टेंट इन लॉन्ग रन। सो यूपीएससी को लेकर जो हवा बनाए जाते हैं उसका 70% सिर्फ मिथ्स है। रियलिटी सिंपल है। लिमिटेड सोर्सेज रखो, क्लैरिटी ऑफ सिलेबस होना चाहिए, रेगुलर प्रैक्टिस करो और बैलेंस्ड लाइफ लीड करो। यूपीएससी इज टफ बट नॉट इम्पॉसिबल। सो नाउ आई होप यू हैव अंडरस्टूड दैट व्हाट आर द मिथ्स दैट आर गोइंग ऑन and what are the reality. But the most important thing that you must be thinking in the back of your mind that what's the strategy the toppers follow that they clear the exam, or even some toppers have cleared the exam in their very first attempt. So what they exactly do? So sometimes you might be thinking that toppers का real strategy क्या होता है? क्या सबके strategy same होते हैं या थोड़ा ट्विक होता है? तो आप लोग सोचो एक बार, 10 लाख लोग फॉर्म फिल करते हैं यूपीएससी का, 5 लाख लोग एक्चुअली एग्जाम लिखते हैं और फाइनल लिस्ट में बेयरली 900 to 1000 लोग आते हैं ना। सोचने वाली बात यह है, क्या उन 1000 लोगों के पास कोई सीक्रेट मैजिक ट्रिक होते हैं? क्या उन्होंने 20 घंटे पढ़ाई की होती है या क्या उनके पास कोचिंग के हिडन नोट्स होते हैं? आंसर इज बिल्कुल नहीं। उनके पास सिर्फ एक ही चीज़ होते है, क्लैरिटी ऑफ स्ट्रेटजी प्लस कंसिस्टेंसी, और इसी को हम कहते हैं सक्सेस फॉर्मूला। चलिए स्टेप बाय स्टेप डिकोड करते हैं। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, क्लैरिटी ऑफ सिलेबस एंड पीवाईक्यू। माय फ्रेंड्स, पहले और सबसे बड़ी चीज, सिलेबस और पीवाईक्यूज तुम्हारे बाइबल है। बहुत एस्पिरेंट्स गलती करते हैं, वो सोर्सेस के पीछे भागते रहते हैं पर सिलेबस को इग्नोर कर देते हैं। हर टॉपिक जो तुम पढ़ते हो उसका एक डायरेक्ट सिलेबस लाइन होता है। हर पीवाईक्यू जो तुम देखते हो या फिर सॉल्व करते हो, सिलेबस का एक अप्लाइड वर्जन होता है। For example, in 2022 GS mains paper, a question came that discuss India's position in the recently released Global Hunger Index and suggest policy measures. तो इसमें क्या है, स्टैटिक पार्ट कौन सा है ना, इंडियन इकोनॉमी के बेसिक्स मुझे जानना है, हंगर पॉवर्टी ये सब डेटा देखना है मुझे. फिर डायनामिक पार्ट क्या है ना, ग्लोबल हंगर इंडेक्स 2022 का रिपोर्ट मुझे देखना है. तो इसमें ओवरलैप डायनामिक पोर्शंस क्या हो सकता है, इसमें करंट अफेयर्स में क्या डाल सकता हूँ, गवर्नमेंट स्कीम्स मैं यूज कर सकता हूँ लाइक पोषण अभियान, मिड डे मील. तो यहाँ से हमें क्या लेसन मिल रहा है, अगर तुमने सिलेबस प्लस पीवाईक्यूज को मास्टर कर लिया, तुम 70% यूपीएससी को समझ गए. सो अगेन आई विल रिपीट द सेम थिंग, प्रिंट आउट द सिलेबस, स्टिक इट ऑन योर वॉल. एवरी टाइम यू रीड न्यूज़पेपर और करंट अफेयर्स, आस्क ये कौन से सिलेबस लाइन से लिंक्ड है. नाउ स्टेप 2 इज लिमिटेड सोर्सेस, मल्टीपल रिविजन्स. व्हाट डज दिस मीन्स ना, ये और एक बड़ी मिथ बस्टर चीज है. यूपीएससी क्लियर करने के लिए तुम्हें 50 बुक्स की जरूरत नहीं है. इनफैक्ट जितना ज्यादा सोर्सेज उतना ज्यादा कंफ्यूजन्स. नाउ टॉपर्स का फंडा सिंपल है, few standard books like as we have already discussed that NCERT plus 1 or 2 standard books per subject, then current affairs compilations and regular revisions. Example like in polity for prelims perspective you can go through, for fundamental clearing the basics and all you can go through Lakshmikant, and then you can jump onto any one standard book and along with that you can go through the PYQs. For modern history, you can go through the spectrum, NCRTs as well. Geography, you can go through NCRTs. That's the very good NCRT for geography. Economy, you can go through NCRT plus basic any standard books you can go through. And then you can go through budget or economic survey. Now, तुम्हें जो काम करे उसको स्टिक करो. Don't keep switching. कि कल किसी और से सुन लिया कि वो अच्छा रिसोर्स है, अभी उसके पीछे भाग रहे हो. ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए. Whatever resources that you have selected, just stick to it. Just remember one thing that books don't clear UPSC, revisions clear UPSC. तो आप जितने बार revisions कर सकते हो उतना ही help होगा. Third is static plus dynamic integration. ये UPSC का फेवरेट स्टाइल है, जैसे हम लोग पहले भी स्लाइड्स में देख चुके हैं कि क्वेश्चंस आर रेयरली 100% स्टैटिक या रेयरली 100% करंट अफेयर्स. ज्यादातर क्वेश्चंस ओवरलैप जोन से आते हैं. टेक फॉर एग्जांपल वन क्वेश्चन दैट केम इन जीएस पेपर 3 2021 मेंस. एक्सप्लेन द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ एमएसपी इन इंडियन एग्रीकल्चर एंड क्रिटिकली एग्जामाइन द चैलेंजेस इन इट्स इम्प्लीमेंटेशन. अभी उस साल क्यों आया था ये क्वेश्चन, क्योंकि उस टाइम पे वो फार्म बिल्स को लेकर प्रोटेस्ट चल रहा था. तो मतलब ये मेरा डायनामिक पोर्शन हो गया. तो 2021 का फार्मर्स प्रोटेस्ट हो रहा था जिसके वजह से गवर्नमेंट ने कुछ रिफॉर्म्स किया फार्म बिल पे. स्टैटिक पोर्शन क्या है, एमएसपी का कॉन्सेप्ट क्या है, एपीएमसी क्या है, इकोनॉमिक थियरीज क्या है ना, ओवरलैपिंग इशू क्या है, इसमें कैसे लिखना है. अगर मुझे आंसर लिखना है तो इसमें मैं क्या लिखूंगा, जो स्टैटिक पार्ट है एमएसपी के लिए उसको प्लस करंट अफेयर्स, ये दोनों को मैं मैच कर लूंगा. सो टॉपर्स हमेशा अपने नोट्स को स्टैटिक प्लस डायनामिक इंटीग्रेट करके ही बनाते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल इन पॉलिटी, any question or any topics you are going through, any constitution topics you are going through, so you need to go through the Supreme Court judgments as well. You need to go through any acts related to as well. Similarly for geography, rivers plus cyclone news. Similarly in environment also you need to go through the basics. Along with that you need to integrate with recent reports and all. यही रीजन है कि उन्हें आंसर्स रेलेवेंट और फ्रेश लगते हैं. नेक्स्ट इज आंसर राइटिंग प्रैक्टिस. डियर एस्पिरेंट्स, ये एक एरिया है जहां 90% एस्पिरेंट्स फेल करते हैं. वो सोचते हैं पहले प्रीलिम्स क्लियर करूं फिर मेंस के बाद लिखना शुरू करूंगा. नो, इट्स अ बिग मिस्टेक. आंसर राइटिंग एक मसल मेमोरी है, तुम्हें अभी से प्रैक्टिस करना चाहिए. स्ट्रक्चर्स फॉलो करो, पहले सीखो कैसे आंसर्स लिखना पड़ता है, स्ट्रक्चर कैसे बनाना पड़ता है, इंट्रो, बॉडी, कंक्लूजन. For example, in ethics case study, if a question comes that a villager comes to you with a bride, तुम्हारा आंसर सिर्फ आई विल नॉट टेक ब्राइब नहीं होना चाहिए, तुम्हें ये लिखना होगा ट्रांसपेरेंसी मेजर्स, ग्रीवांस रिड्रेसल, ऑल्टरनेटिव सॉल्यूशंस, तो ये सब चीज को इंटीग्रेट करना है वो आंसर में। तो व्हाट आई विल सजेस्ट इज स्टार्ट विथ 2 to 3 क्वेश्चंस डेली। वीकेंड पे एक टेस्ट दे दो, एक हाफ लेंथ टेस्ट दे दो, रिव्यू करो, मिस्टेक्स एनालाइज करो एंड देन रिपीट द सेम थिंग, बिकॉज दैट्स द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग। गिव टेस्ट, रिवाइज एंड रिपीट द साइकिल। सो यूपीएससी के और एक ट्रूथ है, तुम्हें सिर्फ पढ़ने से सिलेक्शन नहीं होगा, तुम्हें अपना प्रिपरेशन को टेस्ट भी करना है। सो टेस्ट लिखो, मिस्टेक्स निकालो, रिवाइज करो एंड रिपीट द सेम साइकिल। फॉर एग्जाम्पल प्रीलिम्स के लिए यू कैन प्रैक्टिस द PYQs or you can practice test series, any institution's test series as well, and point out your mistakes. Then you revise those mistakes and then again repeat the same cycle. मेंस के लिए ऐसे का आंसर्स लिखो, जीएस के आंसर्स लिखो, ऑप्शनल्स के आंसर राइटिंग मास्टरी करो। और सबसे बड़ा पॉइंट, डोंट चेज रैंक्स while you are giving these mocks. Your main objective should be to use these mocks as a learning tool, not as a competition. Next is, as we already discussed, that optional plus essay is equal to rank booster. So हर एक टॉपर यही कहते हैं, optional subject and essay are the real rank boosters. Now you simply imagine this: optional, that is of 500 marks, essay, that is of 250 marks. That means these two together itself is having 750 marks. This is where rank is made or broken. अगर तुम जीएस में एवरेज हो और ऑप्शनल में 320 प्लस स्कोर करते हो, तुम फाइनल लिस्ट में आ ही जाओगे। पर अगर ऑप्शनल वीक है, सिलेक्शन मुश्किल हो जाता है। सो रिपीटेडली सेइंग द सेम थिंग, चूज ऑप्शनल वाइजली, जिसमें तुम्हारे इंटरेस्ट होना चाहिए, जिसके लिए रिसोर्सेज अवेलेबल होना चाहिए। प्रीवियस ईयर अभी कैसे सिलेक्ट करोगे कौन सा ऑप्शनल तुम्हारा इंटरेस्ट के लिए है? प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चंस, ट्रेंड्स, प्रीवियस ईयर ट्रेंडिंग्स चेक करो, syllabus, go through the syllabus, try to find out that in which topic or in which subject you are having that interest. For essay, डेली न्यूज़पेपर एडिटोरियल्स पढ़ो और मंथली 1-2 एसेज लिखने की हैबिट बनाओ। एंड फाइनली कंसिस्टेंसी एंड बैलेंस्ड लाइफस्टाइल। जो सबसे अंडररेटेड चीज़ है, कंसिस्टेंसी। ना याद ये रखना चाहिए कि यूपीएससी एक मैराथन है, स्प्रिंट नहीं। तुम एक दिन 14 घंटा पढ़ोगे और फिर 3 दिन ब्रेक लोगे, इट्स ऑफ जीरो प्रोग्रेस। पर अगर तुम रोज 6-7 घंटे डिसिप्लिन स्टडी करोगे, तुम स्टेडी प्रोग्रेस करते रहोगे। और हेल्थ को इग्नोर मत करो। एक्सरसाइज, डेली एक्सरसाइज, हॉबीज, मेडिटेशन इज इक्वल टू प्रोडक्टिविटी बूस्टर। नाउ हेल्दी एस्पिरेंट इज इक्वल टू कंसिस्टेंट एस्पिरेंट। फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई कैन गिव यू एन एग्जाम्पल लाइक, हर साल टॉपर्स के इंटरव्यूज सुनो, सब एक ही चीज कहते हैं, बैलेंस बिटवीन स्टडी एंड पर्सनल लाइफ इज की। अब अगर एक लाइन में मुझे इसको रैप अप करना है तो यूपीएससी सक्सेस इज इक्वल टू स्ट्रैटेजी प्लस कंसिस्टेंसी, नॉट लक। फॉर्मूला सिंपल है, सिलेबस प्लस पीवाईक्यूज के क्लैरिटी, लिमिटेड सोर्सेस, मल्टीपल रिविजन्स, स्टैटिक प्लस डायनामिक इंटीग्रेशन, आंसर राइटिंग की प्रैक्टिस, टेस्ट रिवीजन साइकिल। इसको कंसिस्टेंटली मुझे यही चीज को फॉलो करना है। ऑप्शनल प्लस एसे मास्टरी, कंसिस्टेंसी प्लस बैलेंस्ड लाइफस्टाइल। अगर तुमने ये फॉलो किया तो तुम्हारा नाम लिस्ट में होने का चांसेस बहुत हाई है। तो होप यू अंडरस्टूड दैट देयर इज नो एज सच सक्सेस फॉर्मूला, but this entire thing, if you practice in a daily basis, in a holistic manner, which will help you a lot better. Now the most important thing, अब तक हमने यूपीएससी को ब्रेक डाउन करके समझ लिया उसका सिलेबस, एग्जाम स्ट्रक्चर, वेटेज क्या है, करंट अफेयर्स, सक्सेस फॉर्मूला, सब कुछ। बट अब एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बात करने, नाउ यूपीएससी एज अ जर्नी। Why everyone says that UPSC is nothing, is not an exam, it's a journey. UPSC is not just about prelims, mains and interview. It's not just about getting IAS, IPS or IFS. It's about the journey you go through as a person. हर साल वही चीज रिपीट करूंगा, हर साल 10 लाख लोग फॉर्म फिल करते हैं, उसमें से 5 लाख लोग प्रीलिम्स में अपीयर करते हैं, बट उसमें से सिर्फ 10 से 12 हज़ार प्रीलिम्स क्लियर करके मेंस में जाते हैं। मेंस में से पर्सनालिटी टेस्ट में सिर्फ 2,500 से 3,000 के आसपास इंटरव्यूज तक जाते हैं, और फाइनल लिस्ट में हार्डली 900 से 1,000 लोग का नाम आता है। मतलब सक्सेस रेट जो है वो लेस देन 0.2% है। साउंड स्केरी, राइट? बट हियर्स द ट्रूथ, even those who don't make the final list transform into a different person. Now, failures are stepping stones in this journey. देखो भाई, कोई भी टॉपर तुम्हें ये नहीं बोलेगा कि उन्होंने फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट में बिना स्ट्रगल के क्लियर कर लिया। मोस्ट टॉपर्स फेस्ड फेलियर्स। सम फेल्ड इन प्रीलिम्स, सम फेल्ड इन मेंस, सम फेल्ड इन इंटरव्यूज, बट ईच फेलियर बिकेम अ स्टेपिंग स्टोन। और तुम देखोगे कि एवरी फेल्ड अटेम्प्ट स्टिल गिव्स यू ग्रोथ। यू अंडरस्टैंड द सिलेबस बेटर, यू मास्टर टाइम मैनेजमेंट, यू लर्न आंसर राइटिंग, you gain maturity and calmness. So that is why it is being said that UPSC is a journey. अभी सोच के देखो, even if you fail, you are still 10x better than before. Every attempt means growth. यही वो चीज है जो यूपीएससी को एक जर्नी ऑफ सेल्फ ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन बनाते हो। सोचो, फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट में तुम सिलेबस को एक्सप्लोर करते हो, सेकेंड अटेम्प्ट में तुम स्ट्रैटेजीज को रिफाइन करते हो, थर्ड अटेम्प्ट में तुम एग्जाम टेम्परमेंट बिल्ड करते हो ना। हर अटेम्प्ट के साथ तुम एक बेटर थिंकर, बेटर एनालिस्ट और बेटर इंडिविजुअल बनते हो, और यही क्वालिटीज लेटर तुम्हें किसी भी प्रोफेशन में जाओ, जॉब में जाओ या लाइफ सिचुएशंस में हेल्प करते हैं। तुम यूपीएससी के प्रिपरेशन में जो डिसीजन मेकिंग सीखते हो वो तुम्हें लाइफ के डिसीजन मेकिंग में भी हेल्प करेगी। नाउ इमेजिन दिस जर्नी एज अ ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन ऑफ थिंकिंग। Now, what are the things you are studying as part of your UPSC exam? You are studying history, geography, polity, economy, science and tech, environment, all those things. So UPSC का syllabus खुद ही एक school of thought है। History तुम्हें roots देता है, polity तुम्हें governance समझाता है, economy तुम्हें development और reforms का perspective देता है, geography तुम्हें nature और resources का balance सिखाता है, ethics तुम्हें values और principles देता है। और जब तुम इसको 2-3 साल तक पढ़ते हो, तुम्हारी सोच ही अलग लेवल की हो जाते हैं। तुम्हारे एबिलिटी टू एनालाइज सोसाइटी इम्प्रूव्स, तुम्हारी मैच्योरिटी ऑफ जजमेंट डेवलप होते हैं, तुम्हारी अवेयरनेस और एम्पैथी बढ़ जाते हैं। भाई, यही रीजन है कि लोग कहते हैं यूपीएससी डजंट जस्ट प्रिपेयर यू फॉर अ करियर, इट प्रिपेयर्स यू फॉर लाइफ। नाउ यूपीएससी इज नॉट जस्ट अबाउट रैंक बट ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन। रैंक जरूरी है, रैंक इज इंपॉर्टेंट, बट ग्रोथ एज अ ह्यूमन बीइंग इज द ट्रू रिवॉर्ड ऑफ दिस जर्नी। नाउ थिंक अबाउट इट, अगर तुम आईएएस बन जाते हो तो इट्स अमेजिंग, नथिंग कैन बी बेटर दैन दैट। अगर नहीं भी बन पाते हो, इट्स नॉट द एंड ऑफ लाइफ। फिर भी तुम एक हाईली अवेयर, डिसिप्लिन एंड नॉलेजेबल सिटीजन बन जाते हो। और इस जर्नी में तुमने जो क्वालिटीज डेवलप की, लाइक द क्लैरिटी ऑफ थॉट, एनालिटिकल एबिलिटी, पेशेंस, बैलेंस ऑफ व्यूज, एम्पैथी फॉर सोसाइटी, ये सब क्वालिटीज तुम्हें एक बेटर ह्यूमन बीइंग बनाते हैं, चाहे तुम एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में जाओ या किसी और प्रोफेशन में जाओ। एज आई ऑलरेडी डिस्कस दैट टॉपर्स हमेशा एक लाइन रिपीट करते हैं, रैंक इज इंपॉर्टेंट, रैंक मैटर्स, बट द जर्नी इटसेल्फ इज द बिगेस्ट रिवॉर्ड। क्योंकि यू लर्न टू मैनेज योर टाइम, टाइम मैनेजमेंट आप लोग सीख जाते हो, यू लर्न टू हैंडल स्ट्रेस, यू लर्न टू थिंक क्रिटिकली, यू डेवलप डिसिप्लिन एंड पेशेंस। एज वी ऑलरेडी नो दैट यूपीएससी इज अ मैराथन। यूपीएससी एक मैराथन रेस है। अगर तुम स्प्रिंट करोगे एकदम 14 घंटे दिन भर पढ़ाई बिना रेस्ट के, तुम जल्दी थक जाओगे। अगर तुम स्लो और स्टेडी पेस मेंटेन करोगे, तुम फिनिश लाइन तक जरूर पहुंचोगे। इसीलिए ये कहा जाता है कि यूपीएससी इज अबाउट कंसिस्टेंसी, नॉट इंटेंसिटी। सो फाइनल वर्ड्स टू ऑल ऑफ यू, एक ही चीज कहना चाहता हूं, यूपीएससी की जर्नी तुम्हारी लाइफ को ट्रांसफॉर्म करेगी। यस, कंपटीशन टफ है, यस, सिलेबस वास्ट है, यस, सक्सेस रेट लो है, बट रिमेंबर, Every single day you spend in this journey adds value to your life. डोंट कंपेयर योर सेल्फ विथ अदर्स कि जो यूपीएससी की प्रिपरेशन नहीं कर रहे अपने दोस्तों के साथ कंपेयर मत करो कि वो आईटी में है या कहीं पे भी है, वो लाखों में कमा रहे हैं, अभी तुम प्रिपरेशन कर रहे हो. सो डोंट कंपेयर योर सेल्फ विथ अदर्स. डोंट गेट डिसहर्टेंड बाई फेलियर्स. डोंट रन आफ्टर शॉर्टकट्स. बस एक ही मंत्र याद रखो और ध्यान पे रखो. क्लैरिटी प्लस कंसिस्टेंसी इज इक्वल टू सक्सेस. और अगर तुम ये मेंटेन करोगे तो चाहे तुम्हारे नाम फाइनल लिस्ट में आए या ना आए, तुम्हारे नाम लाइफ के फाइनल लिस्ट में जरूर होगा. एज अ बेटर पर्सन, अ बेटर सिटीजन एंड मे बी इवन अ लीडर इन योर ओन राइट. सो यस, रैंक इज इंपॉर्टेंट, पर असली रिवॉर्ड क्या है? द पर्सन यू बिकम इन दिस जर्नी. यूपीएससी तुम्हें सिर्फ एक नौकरी नहीं देता है, ये तुम्हें एक नई सोच, नई आइडेंटिटी और एक नई विजन देता है. और इसीलिए मैं कहता हूं कि यूपीएससी इज नॉट जस्ट एन एग्जाम, इट्स अ जर्नी ऑफ बिकमिंग योर बेस्ट वर्जन्स. सो माय डियर एस्पिरेंट्स, स्टे स्ट्रांग, स्टे कंसिस्टेंट एंड मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंटली एंजॉय द जर्नी. बिकॉज ये जर्नी ही तुम्हें एक सिविल सर्वेंट इन स्पिरिट बनाते हैं, इवन बिफोर द रिजल्ट्स कम. एंड रिमेंबर व्हाट आई सेड अर्लियर, यूपीएससी इज नॉट अ स्प्रिंट, it's a marathon. Take it step by step, stay consistent, and always remember, Civils Mentorship is with you in this journey. So, see you soon, and thank you everyone.